our next guest is another politician, and he hails from Alabama. And let's welcome Neil Rafferty to my basement. Come on in, Neil.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm doing fine. So, you and Brian know each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We're both involved in the Victory Fund, Victory Institute. So we end up seeing each other at conferences and that kind of thing quite a bit.
Well, that's yeah, because I know all you gays know each other. That's just one of those things.
It is a very small but tight-knit community, absolutely.
Yes. Some tighter than others. So, Neil, tell us about what your current position is, other than sitting down.
Yeah. So I am Neil Rafferty. I am the state representative for House District 54, which represents the beautiful and lovely Magic City, Birmingham, Alabama, the Big Ham in Alabama, and a wonderful part of Irondale, which is just neighboring Birmingham, Alabama. So I represent us down in Montgomery. I'm a former Marine, yeah, very progressive Democrat, and the only openly LGBTQ individual in the state house or an elected position within the state, I believe.
Oh my goodness, that must get pretty lonely sometimes.
No, you got your friends, you got your community you can always lean back on, and you have folks that you can depend on to have your back when you need it, when you need them to.
So you're running for re-election. How many terms have you already served?
I've only done one. So I just got elected back in 2018. First session, legislative session was 2019. And now we're back at the end of the quadrennium and getting set up for re-election.
Oh, a 4-year term. That's pretty nice. What prompted you to get into politics?
Well, so there's a couple of things. There's a confluence of several different events that ended up happening. For one, I knew that Patricia Todd, who is actually the first openly LGBTQ representative in the state, was stepping down. So I was afraid of losing a strong LGBTQ voice in Alabama. I'm also I had worked in public health for 10 years before I decided to throw my hat in the ring. And that kind of put me on the front lines and in the trenches of our healthcare crises here. Education crises, seeing disparities and outcomes that were just unacceptable for me as a professional in that field, having clients that had insurmountable odds against them, and then knew that it would take systemic structural change, not just a little dib or dab there. It had to be all in or nothing. And this is Alabama. This is my home. This is my state. This is where I love. There's good people down here. They just deserve better than what their state government's given them so far.
What committees do you serve?
I serve on the Health Committee, the Transportation, Utilities, and Infrastructure Committee, the Sunset Committee, as well as the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, otherwise known as the Vice Committee, because that's where all the gambling and drinking bills go through.
We'll put the gay with the vices.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of breweries in my district as well, so I think that's probably why they ended up putting me in that one.
All right, you made the headlines this week as well. So we've got your the audio clip of your speech, but lead us up to that. What happened?
So there's been a handful of anti-LGBTQ bills that have been brought up or introduced over the past 4 years, past 3 sessions now, and we've been able to kill them over and over and over again. And then finally, this session, I believe that what ended up happening is the tidal wave of extreme right wing kind of push for the red meat issues here, just kind of swept on the shores of Alabama in a way that was insurmountable, in a way that, they brought them up and they all passed, not just passed all on one day, on the final day of session. So there's a lot of things going on down here in Alabama. There's a Republican power vacuum with a lot of people stepping down. So there's a lot of jockeying for power within the Republican caucus in the Alabama legislature as well, with the speaker position being open, majority leader being open, as well as the Rules Committee chair running for Senate. So these are all very powerful positions. So I think there was just a huge jockeying for power combined with that tidal wave of right-wing extremism that targets and picks on trans kids. So I think that Alabama was just the latest victim in it. We were the ones that put the furthest. We went the furthest in our bills. Created felonies, positions that provide gender affirming care. I mean, it's a travesty, really. But I'm just happy to know that we have a lot of organizations here on the ground who are doing the work to provide the support for these kids, as well as a lot of folks here on the ground who already have plaintiffs lined up and drop lawsuits immediately upon signature from the governor.
So let's play that clip, Russell, and then we'll talk more about that.
This ain't small government. I don't know where this became a platform issue for y'all. I don't know where this became a central core issue to pick on these kids, to pick on these families. I don't know where it is or why. Y'all think that this is something that we need to vote on. Not just vote on, but put at the top of the calendar. Like it's a priority. It's a priority for us to be getting involved in private family medical decisions that are made with a team of healthcare providers, that are made with the parents centering around the child, who are surrounded by a team of healthcare providers, mental health professionals who are guiding them through this process. You want to think you're just going to a doc in a box and willy-nilly just getting prescribed this stuff because somebody just said, hey, this is it. That's not how being gay, that's not how being transgender works. Trust me, if I didn't have to be gay, I wouldn't be. You know how much easier my freaking life would be? This is personal, y'all. And y'all gonna do what you're gonna do. I understand that y'all are gonna do what you're gonna do, but I am trying to appeal to you that this is not small government, that this is invasive. It's hard enough growing up. It's hard enough growing up being different. It's even harder growing up being different and then have the state legislature, your elected officials, the leaders of this state, put a target on children's backs. Put a target on the parents' backs. And once again, get in the middle of their decisions and say, you don't know what's best. You don't know what's good for your kid. You don't know what's best for your family. Where's freedom in that? Where's small government in that? Please. I'm begging y'all. All right, I'm not begging. You're right, I'm not begging. You're right, I'm not begging. What's going to happen is going to happen. Just don't you dare call me a friend after this.
Wow. And you could hear the passion in your voice. And this wasn't scripted. This came from your heart.
All this came totally as a surprise. So what ended up happening is Rules Committee did not meet. It was the last day of session. Rules Committee was meeting 15 minutes before we were supposed to convene. I got the calendar 5 minutes before we were about to go in there. And then it was just like, so there was no script. And you actually missed quite a bit. I mean, because I spoke for a whole 8.5 minutes because I wanted to cede some time to one of my colleagues who need to rip into that sponsor as well. But it's just, so I just went down there, and I don't know if you saw the YouTube video, but you can see the kind of hate and vitriol and disdain that the sponsor had for me. He wouldn't even answer any of my questions. I started off trying to say, does the gentleman yield? Ask him a couple of questions, and he's just kept being like, it's your time. So I had to sit there and be like, okay, all right. So I had to kind of pull myself back, and it was like, all right, then I'm just going to address the body, and then I had to go forward with addressing the body. And the thing is here, Amber, that I had already talked to about 70% of them about this. They all knew it. I've been working on these bills for 3 years to fight them. We're talking about, for the past 3 years, proponents of these bills have been building up this false, terrifying narrative, but shocking, right? Because they're talking about permanent mutilation of children. Okay, that's what they're talking about doing. I've already gone back and corrected them as far as that all gender affirming care models for minors are slow, incremental, and do not include any permanent procedures or surgeries. But they still decided to bring this up. They still decided to make a felony out of caring physicians that provide this care. They still decided to put a target on these families' backs, put a target on these children's backs, and they're still doing it right now. You should see some of the campaign ads that are going down around here in Alabama right now. So it was a shame. It was a travesty. There might be room for forgiveness, but there's a lot of work that we're going to have to work through in order to get there.
What is the solution? This isn't just Alabama. Heaven forbid, we know it's your next door neighbor, Florida, and Texas, and Oklahoma, and all these other states. What can we do?
Well, I think we need to understand that we cannot get complacent. And I hate to say this, but I feel like the LGBTQ community has gotten complacent, got marriage equality, and then everyone kind of sat back and said, okay, we got what we needed. And the problem is right now it's time to step it up. We got to go further than we have before, because they're not just picking on adults. All right. They are picking on children. They're using children as political footballs. They're using children for cheap political points. They are targeting these families who already are in a vulnerable position. And then, so we cannot sit back and take it. We have got to step it up. We have got to fight back and change it. I mean, that is bottom line. There cannot be any more of this. Let's tiptoe around the issue. We got to face it head on, headstrong, and together united as one community. And that is what I've really been saying, is because we cannot be trying to break ourselves up into the L's over here, the B's over here, the G's over here, the T's and the Q's. We have got to be one community, standing firm, standing tall, and standing in solidarity with each other against these bills.
You are facing a primary challenger, another Democrat, I assume.
Sure. Yep.
Why is a Democrat running against you?
I don't know. You'd have to talk to that person. When we sat down early on, this person just kind of felt like they wanted to run, but they've been working very hard. And I think as they have not been getting the kind of support I believe that they thought they were going to get, they've been lashing out and actually saying some pretty terrible stuff, some pretty vicious lies, and some other kind of things. Actually calling me a Republican. I mean, it's like, how can you call me a Republican after what that is? I'm without a doubt the most progressive Democrat in the Alabama legislature, and we got to keep. I obviously am a little biased, but I feel like we got to keep me down there to keep up this fight. I got the relationships, I have the experience, and I know what I need to do, the unfinished business that needs to get done.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. I wish you the best success next month for your primary, and then again in November. And, every time I see your Governor Meemaw on there on TV, I just think, oh, those poor people in Alabama.
We deserve better.
Yes, you do.
We deserve
yes,
so much better down here.
I wish nothing but the best for you, Neil. And
thank you so much, Amber.
We'll talk again before November. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Appreciate you.
Oh, my good. Appreciate you. Here in Vermont, we feel so sheltered, and we appreciate it so much. We sometimes just don't understand what's going on other places. And I think that's what we've tried to bring to you tonight. So thank you so much for those politicians who are running for the good.